Hello everyone, Ember Power here and welcome back to a new video. In this one I'm going to be taking a look at the Mental Might theme deck because I thought with the closure of the theme deck format and with the closure of theme decks in general moving on to TCG Live, I thought it'd be a good time to actually look back at what many people consider to be the first deck they ever played really when you join onto Pokemon TCGO. And that deck is going to be Mental Might. So, Mental Might, to no one's surprise, was a terrible deck. It's easily one of the worst themed decks of all time. It's probably not bottom three, funnily enough, because legacy decks are naturally just outclassed due to their power creep. But Mental Might is truly an awful deck. So, what it's based around is a 4-3-2 line of Ralts Curlier Gallade, which is pretty generous by theme deck standards, in all honesty. And the Gallade has 140 HP, treat cost of 2, weakness to Psychic. Pretty normal stats for stage 2s, as you can see that stage 2s haven't really changed all that much over the years. But it has two attacks. Powerful Storm for 2 colors does 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to all of your Pokemon, which in fairness isn't actually a bad attack. There's a Delphox that came out in Fates Collide that came out like not that long after this, I believe. Well, a couple of years we're saying here, but because this came out in the Plasma era. But that did a similar attack, but for 3 energy. So Powerful Storm isn't necessarily the worst attack, but your way of charging up energy in this deck is just really, really bad. So Powerful Storm, pretty limited in terms of damage. You also have the attack Swift Lunge that for 1 Psychic 2 colors does 80 damage, and your opponent switches a defending Pokemon with his or her bench Pokemon. So this is kind of an annoying attack because, yes, there will be instances where you can just knock out Pokemon frequently, low HP Pokemon in theme deck format, but unfortunately, because you're only doing 80 damage, it means that you're going to struggle to, knock out any evolving Pokemon. And the vast majority of theme deck attackers, particularly the stage 2 ones, can have no difficulties in just knocking out most basics and even some stage 1s, and occasionally other stage 2s, such as a Charizard or Dragonite. So doing 80 damage for 3 energy really isn't that impressive on that Gallade. But what's even more frustrating about this deck is that its main way of accelerating energy is with the Swoobat, which has the attack energy gift that says flip a coin. So it doesn't happen naturally, you do have to flip a coin. You have to flip a coin, and if you get a heads, you search your deck for 2 Psychic Energy cards and attach it to your Pokemon any way you like. FYI, spoiler alert, if this attack was for, no coin flip, it would be maybe okay in theme deck format because the format is just slow enough for something like this to work. But the fact that it's flip a coin means there is some games where this is just essentially a wasted move, and that's obviously very, very bad. Now, of course, Heart Stamp doing 30 damage for 1 Psychic Energy is pretty bad, so not guaranteed energy acceleration. Stage 2 is pretty mediocre, pretty bad combo overall. There's also just 2 copies of Golett in this deck randomly. I'm not sure why exactly, because Mega Punch doing 50 damage for 3 and then not having any other effects, and then retreat cost of 3 is just really bad. So I'm really not sure why this is in here. It's kind of like a sacrifice card, maybe. Like in theme deck, it's quite common that you can sacrifice a basic Pokemon to allow yourself more time to set up. So that's kind of what I remember doing with this card. But 2 Golett just means that this deck really wants to be playing a Golurk, but it doesn't have any for some reason. There is also a Skitty Delcatty line, but you only get 1 Delcatty, I should say, when you get 3 Skitty. The Delcatty has the attack Energy Saloon, search your deck for 3 different types of basic energy cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand, and then shuffle your deck afterwards. And then Fake Out for 2 colors does 30 damage, flip a coin if heads Polarises. So the second attack can be useful to buy yourself some more time, but Energy Saloon can only grab you 1 energy, because it should be 3 different types of basic energy, but you only play Psychic. So very bad card indeed. So yeah, Delcatty, pretty useless. There's also 2 Hoothoot, which is kind of like your pseudo draw engine for the deck, I guess. Dual draw, each player draws 2 cards. This is obviously really bad because the opponent's going to be able to use those extra cards before you get to. So there's every chance that you just give your opponent 2 free cards to use and they end up being ones that they need. So if you're ever bricking and your opponent is winning, then this, of course, is just a terrible attack because it gives your opponent even more advantage and it gives you less of an advantage, basically. So Hoothoot is pretty bad overall. Probably the most redeeming quality about this deck is actually this Miltank that has the attack Powerful Friends, which does 10 damage but 70 more if there is any stage 2 Pokemon on your bench. So there is actually a couple of evolution Pokemon and basics in Theme Deck format which have around 8 HP or less, so being able to do that as early as turn 3 potentially for single energy isn't the worst. I know it doesn't sound very powerful right now, but sometimes this is an okay attack to use, especially in the Theme Deck format. But then Hammering 60 for 3 is obviously just way too expensive for how little damage you're doing. And then as we see for last Pokemon, Furfo, it's another one of these flip a coin of heads Polarises, and then Sharp Fang only doing 50 damage for 3 energy, just like the Golett. So Pokemon, really, really bad. If I had to give the Pokemon a rating, it's probably like a 2 out of 5. It's not quite terrible because there is a little bit of synergy. You know, if you get some Ralts down early, you get Woobat start, and then you go to Swoobat the following turn, you start accelerating a couple of energy, then maybe it's okay. But as for the Pokemon, pretty bad. So what about the trainers? Well, you only get 16 trainers, and that's obviously just really bad again. You get 2 Escape Rope, which is nice for switching out. Also acts as like a pseudo Gust if your opponent only has 1 bench Pokemon. 1 Evosoda, which is admittedly quite nice. I do like Evosoda as a trainer card, especially in a format like this where you're playing multiple different stage 1s in your deck. 2 copies of Great Ball, so you won't always hit a Pokemon, but let's be real, nearly half your deck is a Pokemon, so Great Ball should be working most of the time. 2 Potions, pretty bad, don't care about Potion. 2 Professor's Letter, yeah, that's okay, but we play 18 energy, so we shouldn't need Professor's Letter at all. 2 Roller Skates, which is flip a coin of heads, draw 3 cards. Bad, because there's just every chance that this item card does nothing for you. So it can be essentially 2 wasted deck slots. 1 Pokemon Center Lady admittedly heals 60 damage and then remove all special conditions is very scary in a format like this where healing isn't so big, but you only get 1 copy, so the chance this will show up when you need it is pretty low. You also get 1 Pokemon Fan Club, which again is really good, but you only get 1 copy, so similar issue applies here. You also get 2 Tierno, which is just draw 3. Most team decks nowadays are generous enough to give you multiple draw sporters, but this deck only comes with 2 Tierno for some reason, so really bad on that front. And then 1 Hard Charm, which is quite nice. I like to see tool cards in theme decks, but you only get 1 copy, so same problem applies. And then of course 18 energy is terrible. So yeah, that's about the review for Mental Might. Is it as bad as we remember it is? Yes, absolutely. This is a terrible deck, 100%. I do not recommend you play this deck for any longer than you have to on the PCO ladder. Admittedly, it's okay if you're trying to complete the trainer challenge, I would say. But if you're trying to do the TCO ladder, this is definitely one of the worst decks you can possibly start with. So, let me know what you think about Mental Might down below. It's been a bit of a fun throwback video. I might try and do videos for all of the starter decks that you start with. But yeah, it's been Air Power, and thank you for watching.